The monument, which once stood on the southern end of the National Heroes Square in our capital city of Bridgetown, reflected a colonial past. The now removed monument was the subject of public discussion, protest action, and pop culture, all pointed to its removal.
Some jokers they in Bridgetown, but you got to go, 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 go. Some jokers they in Bridgetown, turn you around. So take him down, take down Nelson, take him down and move him out of Bridgetown. This Admiral Western a criminal with cutlass and gun, so send 10 policemen to take down Nelson. Hey! Nelson belonged to Trafalgar Square in London town, not down here. Nelson belonged to Trafalgar Square in London town, not the island. Take down Nelson, take down Nelson, take down Nelson, and put up a Bajan.
After its removal from this sacred space, the government of Barbados facilitated a monument design competition to encapsulate a tribute to the Barbadian family. The family is seen as the foundational element to the success and resilience of the Barbadian people for centuries. The winners of this competition, Hugh Holder and Vincent Jones, explained their design.
The shackles is usually a very indicative symbol of the idea of slavery and of oppression. So we use that idea of the shackles to represent that.
These, at both ends, these semicircular elements, these are what we have represented the shackles as. Pulling those shackles apart is a representation of the Barbadian family. You have what could be perceived as a male, female, and a child, but the images are nondescript to take account of the changing concept of what the family is. In the middle, you have what we call stele, which each one of those will represent one of the current national heroes that we have. However, the space is large enough that if there are more national heroes in the future, that it can accommodate such.
And it would just show an image of that national hero as well as a description of who that national hero was. So again, it now takes the monument to another level. So it's not only something that you kind of move by and just see from afar, but you can now go inside to the monument, inside within the square, and you can take a look at the different national heroes and see what their impact, what their influence was.
And then the middle is the sculpture of the family unit. And this has several members, because a family is not just a mother, father, and child. A family in the Barbadian context could be an aunt, a grandmother, because again, in the Barbadian context, different families are constituted in different ways. So after the Panama experience, you had a whole period of time when it was a mother, probably an aunt, a grandmother that raised the children when the males went off to work. So that's why you have such a, women having a strong influence in the Barbadian family. So we've tried to, again, take all of that into account when we thought of what the Barbadian family is and what it possibly could be perceived to be in the future.
We used a fairly clean, almost faceless, abstract form. And the point there is the Barbadian family has evolved over centuries. Each Barbadian family now is represented by different family members. It looks different. By having a neutral canvas that you go there and you see, you can then, as an individual, you can imprint your own idea of what a Barbadian family, what your own family is.
So again, by having these sculptures of the family being nondescript, as Hugh said, when persons look at this, they don't feel alienated, because in looking at these nondescript figurines, it could be any race, any culture, but still Barbadian.
Construction of elements for the monument began in early 2023, and as the time draws near and the excitement intensifies, we reveal its construction and the intricate work that went into the elements of our newest monument, we loyal sons and daughters of.
Yes, this is the exciting part of the project. So the interesting thing about our competition entry is that there are two professionals involved. Myself as a construction project manager, and my colleague who has done the bulk of the design in terms of the architectural content. So we see the project from two different perspectives. Me having been in the shoes of the contractor where they are now, having to execute a project that is time sensitive. My colleague having been involved in projects, but from the design point of view. So we brought that to this project in terms of our knowledge. And yes, we are coming to the end of the project now, but there is obviously, this is the time where there's a lot to be done. There are several of the major elements that are in place. There is one last large element still to be installed. There are some minor concrete elements. When I say elements, I'm particularly talking about the concrete elements. And then they have all the hard stand to do, which would be the paving and so on that has to be done in and around the square. So there is quite a bit to do, and they are cracking on with it. I believe they are working 2 shifts at present to get that done. Every project has its challenges. This October and November have been extremely wet as well, so that introduces some other challenges. But through those challenges, they have been working through to get the ground up to the levels that are required, first to dig down and then to marl and come back up.
Now, as you can imagine, the foundations for any structure are very critical to ensure the stability of the structure. Now, one will say, oh, but they're small structures. But the smaller the structure, the more important the foundations become, because wind forces can cause the structure to overturn or to slide. So the foundations have to be adequately sized to ensure stability. So for this project, Preconco would have done the superstructural elements above ground, and we would have done the foundation below ground. But we would have had to receive the forces from Preconco so that we can adequately and safely design the foundations. Now, another thing to note is that in Bridgetown, there's a lot of peat. Peat, for lack of a better word, is a material that is very poor in taking load. So to deal with that, we have to come up with solutions that involve engineering the soil. What does that mean? Taking out some of the peat and replacing it with lean mixed concrete with gravel or stone, for lack of a better word, and then encasing that in a geotextile fabric, which basically helps to separate the engineered material from the natural formation on site. Also helps to strengthen the soil as well. So once that is done, the next step is to design the foundations, and where you have, as I mentioned earlier, that overturning effect, and you have a soil that can't handle a lot of load, the best foundation solution for that is a raft foundation. And it is what it says it does. It floats on the ground, right? So on this project, raft foundations were used beneath the main structural features, the forms, the family structures, the shackles, as well as the ancestral structures that support the shackles. So we have the vertical stele, which is where the national heroes are engraved. And again, these are pretty tall structures. So even though, from a scale point of view, the family structure is almost 2 stories tall, the shackles a story and a half, and the stele about 10 feet tall. So these structures can capture a fair amount of wind load, and therefore the foundations have to be sized and, as I said, designed so that we don't have any overturning in the event of a high wind event.
I've worked with architectural firms before, and they were largely residential or commercial projects. And obviously, a commercial project or a residential project is a significant project because of the impact it has on the homeowner or the client or the office or the business or whatever the case may be. That is usually, a typical kind of work for an architectural designer or person working in an architectural firm. A monument of this nature, which is more, is bordering on the edge of like more art than architecture.
This is really more of an art form. If you look at the project and you look at the finished product, it's more like art. It's like almost like somebody would have to sculpt the products. So we started with an architectural design and a concept, and then we have our in-house team that coordinates with the designers and the consultants on the project to ensure that what we're capturing, or that we're capturing in our design, what they want us to achieve. But we have to make it work structurally. So we have to find the structural solutions that allows us to achieve that product.
See it, come into life off the page in the 2D into 3D, and then if they want to make any changes, see anything that looks a little weird, then you can make the corrections and then basically produce something in the real world. Straight out of the model.
Concrete generally is very commercial. Concrete is not necessarily something that you would envision in these types of shapes and sizes, particularly something that's produced in a factory and transported to site. So that's the beauty of what we do, and the beauty of our building system is that we can be extremely diverse in our approach to a project, very bespoke to achieve architectural finishes and requirements, and in a very, very short time frame as well.
I'm looking at the design. To me, I thought it's quite feasible. It all depends on the time frame that the project is required. Because it's a short time frame, precast concrete was chosen as the structural form or the material. And once you pour concrete in a control setting, then you get more accuracy compared to being on site.
And the other players involved have been busy doing their bit. So the precast contractor has been busy doing the precast elements, because those are basically being done in a factory setting off-site.
From beginning, we basically get the drawings from engineers, and then from there, me and my guys will go through the drawings to find out the curves for the arches and the human figures. So basically, we lay out 4 sheets on the ground, and then we will pull our measurements off of the drawing onto the plate. Then from there, now we will get jigsaws and start to cut out all of the curves and stuff. That's one step. The other step now, we will have also to build the thickness of the product. So then we have 2x4s, which we will cut down, let's say 6 2x4s at a specific height. So then we will nail the plywood on top and the bottom, so we can basically frame out the actual human figures. All right, now, so for the spears now, which is the head, that's basically a full circle. So then again, basically the same procedure we have there, but then we will do more than one, so we have a mold, basically speaking. So once we put the pieces together, we'll create 2 half circles. So then we join them together, basically we'll create the hole. And getting that cast, we also then have to drill out holes to the top and the bottom, because we have some steel that has to be doweled in on the human figures and stuff like that. So basically there's a lot of cutting, especially with the jigsaws and stuff. We have a lot of curves and bends, so it's a bit of technical work for sure.
Now, another thing to consider are really environmental loads. One may say environmental load. The environment has a load. It does have a load. The load means heat, humidity, moisture, and we are next to the wharf in a marine environment with salt water in the air, right? All of these can lead to processes that degrade the concrete.
One of the materials that we specified is a weathering steel. It essentially, for most Barbadians, will probably look at it and say it's rusty metal. And we chose that and intentionally.
It's slightly different to standard steel in that the rusting process actually produces a coherent structure which seals the material, reducing any further corrosion. The beauty of it as well is it's very low maintenance, and it is then very useful in architectural or outside attributes, because it is not needed to be repainted, and once it's in position it works perfectly well. And we started collaborating on Zoom calls mainly with Preconco, their engineers, with the designers Hugh and Vincent, and Kerry, who's leading the project. And so our process was to then discuss with them how we were going to turn their design into something we could make. So the concrete element is precast. That was pretty established as to what they were going to do, and we just had to produce metal in the Corten material that would be able to be attached to the concrete.
Yeah, the elements obviously need to stand the test of time. So one of the specifications that the designer says we want them to last 100 years, even longer. So we did import galvanized steel, which is not typical for the elements that we typically produce. So the galvanized steel is going to make sure it lasts a lot longer. And then we included a waterproofing additive as well. So when you combine the strength of the concrete and the waterproofing additive, it basically makes the concrete waterproof. So that's going to prevent any moisture over time getting in.
We collaborated with the design team, project manager Natron, Preconco, and the designers to ensure that the materials selected would have durability. So for example, adding waterproofing admixture to the concrete, adding a surface hardener to make the concrete surface be more durable, impenetrable.
My first challenge, if you like, was to work out how that we deal with the shackle element. This is the big C-section elements that are the main part of the monument. On the designs, it looked like a great big slab, so we managed to fabricate it so that we could make it up in parts that could then be shipped. So part of the design process was how we create these and then make them easy enough to put together and to apply to the concrete. So that was part of the process that we were working very closely with Hugh and Vincent and also the structural guys to making sure that we had a product that was going to obviously stand up to the tropical environment also as well, with wind, rain and all the rest of it. So
those are things that were done to ensure the longevity of the monument. Now, Nelson statue is there for 2 centuries. So a monument is not a 50-year project or structure. It must last a lifetime and more.
One of the other aspects was there's quite a big element of this is the hero steel panels, which are the lasered out lettering and facial details of the national heroes of Barbados. They had to be attached somehow to the monoliths that are in place. So we worked out a system where we're using stainless steel studding into holes drilled in the concrete, and then that was filled then with a resin which goes hard, enabling the panels to be fixed permanently and not able to be removed.
So those are some of the major elements that make this project what it is, and they are very much in stream. The third element to that obviously is the ground conditions. So the contractor has been working through to get things ready so that the various bits and pieces, as it were, can be arranged on the chessboard.
It has been a collaborative effort with the designers, Vincent Jones and Hugh Holder, the project managers Natron Inc., Preconco, ourselves, and also contractors that will be doing in situ works. In situ means building on site. The foundations cannot be done in a precast yard. They have to be done on site. So that collaborative approach has been very good for us, you know, and you're contributing to a structure that has meaning, not just meaning for now, but meaning for centuries to come.
We are, I would say, grateful as designers that the engagement process has been thorough in that they have kept us informed at every step of what is going on. They have taken our comments and the design intent of the project on board fully. So they haven't made any independent decisions pertaining to design without having consulted us. And because we are part of the consulting team, we have had the opportunity to go onto site, do site inspections, basically to confirm that what is being installed is what we have designed and what we intended, and also that the quality of what is being done is up to standard. So we do constant inspections on the job site. We've gone and done inspections at the precast yard, and the contractor's representative would have gone to inspect the Corten in the UK before it was shipped to Barbados. So in terms of quality control, there has been some quality control on this project, and we are quite impressed that they've taken on board the comments and regards that we have made in that pertaining to the project.
Yeah, no, they were great. Look, they obviously had all the ideas that they wanted, come to us to see if we could make that a reality, and we basically said yes all the way along. You know, there isn't really a shape that we can't produce. It's just, you know, we had to import some specialized formwork to create the spherical shapes and some of the curved shapes. But the process was good. You know, we worked with the design team over a long period. And then once we had all the design elements complete, it was then about the schedule. So when they come to us with a schedule, again, we said, yep, we can do it. You know, that's something that we have the ability to do because we have a lot of resources. So they gave us an installation date and we just worked backwards to there to make sure we achieve those dates.
We feel privileged that we are very involved. We think that the contractor and the design team on a whole is very responsive to what our intentions were, what our design intent and concept was, and that we are making sure that that is followed through. So we felt very much involved with, even when there had to be compromises, even when there had to be some adjustments made, we've been there along the entire process, making sure that it still sticks within our original design intent, and the concept is still very clear and carries through.
Pre-Congo has had the pleasure of being tasked with producing the concrete elements for the project, and it's been an exciting journey for us, and we're very proud to be a part of this this monumental moment. And the team and so on that we have involved have been very passionate about being a part of it as well. And so far, I think the product has come out lovely and is going to achieve what the designers are hoping for.
After the design meeting, we did a production meeting with the guys and let them understand what it is, and you could see the excitement straight away. So, I mean, all of the workers, I think, are proud of work that comes out of Pre-Congo, and they can come, you know, drive past the building and say, we did that. But this is definitely special because they can actually still see the elements. And a lot of the elements we produce get covered up in paint or plaster, and you don't know. But this one, they can see it, and already guys are talking about, you know, years to come when they're retiring and they can probably go down and sit on the seat and say, I can did that. That's pretty cool.
I actually took the guys on a site tour last weekend, and when the guys saw the product there, they were excited, felt they were doing something, you know, for the nation, you know. So, but I felt good. My guys also felt really good on doing and being a part of this project.
So we've got quite emotional about the actual the fundamentals of why the project's been done, why it's been created, and what it's commemorating, especially in line with the independence and the history that's behind the UK and also with Barbados as well. So we've sort of got wrapped up in that as well, which we've really enjoyed. We're all keen to see the dream of Hugh and Vincent's project winning design come to reality. And we made it happen basically. So between us all, it's worked very well. We believe this is the first project in Core 10 steel that's been produced on the island, and we look forward to being able to collaborate with other projects as they come up.
You know, being one of the oldest engineering firms in the Caribbean, we have had the privilege to work on a lot of keynote projects. If I mention a couple, the airport is one, the Central Bank is another, the 3W stand at Kensington Oval, the General Post Office in town. That's the beauty about, you know, working in a profession where you can contribute meaningfully to society and to a country. Monuments last centuries. Typically, buildings have a life cycle of 50 years. You know, slightly more if you're lucky. But as you can see, once a building has performed its useful life, then unfortunately it's demolished, and then the space is used for something else. So a monument equals long-lasting structure, right? And that's the way you see it. And as I said, we're very proud to be involved in a project of this nature.
We have all these tools and techniques that we can get a good sense of what the project is going to look like, and maybe even some senses of what it's going to feel like. But there's nothing like when you actually step into the space and you see everything put together and everything completed. It's a completely different experience. So we're hoping that what we design and what we experience when we actually step foot onto that finished open monument, that it is connected, that there's some cohesion there, and we feel comfortable and have a sense that it is what we intended. But also we want to make sure that Barbadian people, we're doing this for the people of Barbados, and we're hoping that they feel that it is something that they can be proud of, something that they can reflect on, something that they can inflect on, something that they can see or start a conversation, and just not necessarily that we need for everyone to agree, because that's impossible. But we want there to be a conversation. We want there to be a respectful conversation and dialogue that happens between persons, between us as designers, between themselves, and be able to recognize and see what we are trying to portray, and hopefully be able to identify with it and feel proud with what we've done.
And so, as we eagerly await the unveiling of our newest monument, may it adorn National Heroes Square with a renewed sense of pride and national identity. May we all come to the square and reflect, educate ourselves, and commit to building on that legacy of our forefathers while recognizing the contribution of the Barbadian family. We, loyal sons and daughters all. This has been Monuments. I'm Rashid Best. Thanks for your time.
Put up a Bajan man, put up a Bajan man, 'cause he remind me of the